Okay. I'm Doug Garr. I can't read this. I don't have my glasses. I'm Doug Garr, but I'm here for the Hall of Fame weekend in Raeford, North Carolina. It's October 9th, 2014. I'm here to give a little bit of a history and testimony about skydiving and my involvement in it. And I'll start right from the beginning. I was a college sophomore at Syracuse University, April 12th, 1969. I had a roommate that was a skydiving instructor named Bill Smith. He's pretty famous to some of the people that have been around the sport. And Bill, I was a journalism major, and Bill for weeks had been saying, if you really want to write about skydiving, and I told him I would write a story about skydiving, if you really want to write about it, you got to try it. That was his thing. So weeks went by, and I had just kept putting it off. The weather was bad. We had to get up early. I had to train all day. And then finally, April 12th, I said, all right, I'm going to do this. One of the guys on my floor had jumped 15 or 20 times, and he was a nerdy guy. And I thought, well, if he's a nerdy guy and he can do it, maybe I could do it. So we go down into this sport parachute center near Binghamton called Green Sport Parachute Center. It's no longer extant. Dirt runway, Cessna 206 turbocharged. Go through training. The interesting thing to me was I looked up at the parachute landing fall platform, and it looked like the gallows. You know, I thought like, wow, you know. And I remember you had to pay in advance. Cost $25. We were a group of 5. The normal rate was $30 for the jump. 5 of us got $5 off. So I go through all the training, get ready to go out of the plane, and I had a friend with me, and I willed him my car and my stereo collection, and I was only half in jest. There's only one way to describe it. I was scared stiff, and anybody who isn't scared stiff is lying or has no emotional makeup that's normal. So I jump out of this plane, static line jump, and later on they said I was a great counter. You know, I was screaming out of total fear. I had a radio on my reserve. We had all belly, it was what we call a belly wart, or a round reserve on our stomach, and I had a round canopy. And I got out of the plane, counted, did my arch. I don't know how good it was, probably not that good. And then I looked up, and here's this canopy that opens. Billows open, and these strings are holding you in the air. It's this marvelous view that so few people in the world are ever going to get. And you're seeing beautiful central New York. There's the Chenango River, the mountain snake around that. I get talked down by a radio on my reserve. I land in the pea gravel, did my PLF, and I was just laying on my back laughing. It was an indescribable feeling in the sense that I thought, wow, I have to repeat the fix. It was like what drug addicts say. I took one shot, one smoke of a crack cocaine pipe, and I was hooked. Well, that's what skydiving did to me, because a week later I made 2 more static line jumps, and on that Monday I bought a parachute used for $35. This chute was like a VW Beetle that was all beat up. It was, you know, it was lime green with a gold apex. It was almost psychedelic. The guy who owned it had quit the sport. And I mean, $35, you know, so I bought this rig, and then, and that was it. I was on my way, and for 13 years, I jumped pretty hard. Made 850 jumps or so, and then for some strange reason, around 82 or 83, I lost contact with the sport. You know, family got in, you know, we like to say that life got in the way. Then around 2008, I had this manuscript that since I'm a writer, people had always said, you have to write about skydiving someday. And I never could get the words down right because it was too hyper-emotional for me. The way to write about skydiving is to try and step back a little bit so you have some detachment, and you can try and, I don't want to sound overly arrogant about this, but you have to intellectualize it in a way that you think people will understand it without trying to sensationalize it. Both the danger and the absolute, the word I'm looking for is joy you get out of jumping out of a plane, that instant that you let go. And in 2008, I wanted to finish this manuscript that I had done. My agent couldn't sell it. It had been lying around for about 6-7 years. And finally, a small press got a hold of it, 2 chapters on the web. And they read it. They said, we want to publish this book. And they said, but it needs an ending. And because it had been lying around. I had the penultimate chapter, which was, I went to a skydivers reunion down in Florida where the old guys get together and tell jump stories. And I loved that part of it, but then he said, you know, there's only one way to finish this book. And I said, I know what you're saying. I got to go back up and make another jump. Well, I checked with my son, my wife, and my son said, I'm really worried about you, Dad. I said, oh, don't worry, it'll be safe. I'm going to do my currency training with Al King, who you'll probably interview as well. He's exactly my age. He went to Cortland State. He made his first jump 2 months after I did. He now has about 8,000 jumps. Has done almost everything in the sport. So my son said, Dad, I'm really worried about you. I said, what are you worried about? He goes, I said, it's going to be safe. He said, no, I'm worried about you getting hooked again. He knew his father. So I make these 2 jumps, and it was like riding a bike. You know, it was great. I went through currency training. It took a month. I had to wait for the weather. I went up to Orange, Massachusetts, which is significant in the history of the sport because Jacques Estelle and Lou Sanborn started that place as the first commercial drop zone in the United States. And it has a wide open field. I figured, I'm never going to miss this place. You know, I can't miss the airport. So I did it, and the second jump I did was stand-up landing in the pea gravel, and it was so Pavlovian. You know, I smelled the jet fuel in the otter, and it was like it never went away. It was like unbelievable. It was like the guy falling off the wagon. And I made these 2 jumps, and I managed to temper my enthusiasm. I finished the book, wrote a really fun last chapter. I finished the book. It's called Between Heaven and Earth, An Adventure in Free Fall. And I have to tell you, I finished the book, and about 7 or 8 months went by, and I didn't think much about it, but I was thinking about it a little bit. But then in 2009, or right around May, Al and I do a road trip from Massachusetts, New York, down to Raeford for another one of these events, Pioneers of Sport Parachuting getting together. So we come down here, this is 5 years ago now, and Tony Thacker, who runs the place, says, you know, you got a D license, get in the plane. You know, there was no muss, no fuss. And I get in with 6 other guys. They were all grandfathers. I think I'm the youngest guy on the load. I'm probably the only one who's not a grandfather. And we get in the plane and we do a 3.7 way. And I got down on the ground and I just said, that's it. I'm buying gear. I'm back. And I went and I started jumping again at Skydive Long Island, where Ray Maynard runs the place. I go back with him with Paraski for all this time. I mean, it was like he said, "Oh, I'll just give you my gear, go up and jump. You know, don't charge Doug for rental." It was like it was old home week, and it was really wonderful. And I started jumping regularly again. I bought gear again, and the rest is history. I finally got my gold wings for 1,000 jumps and 12 hours of free fall, and I started jumping with the old guys, the parachutes over 40. Society and the parachutists over 60, the skydivers over 60, and I got current and started to jump seriously again. And I've been in some big ways out in California on record attempts and local records. I've got 5 or 6 certificates now, and I'm having a blast. It's better, the equipment's safer, it's more comfortable at drop zones. The people are great. There are so many disciplines that it's so much better the second time around, even though I'm like 65 years old. And the thing that's really cool is I don't tell a lot of people that I jump, because I don't want to have to go through this explanation. Oh man, you're so old. I said, you've got no idea. You know, when I got back on the drop zone, I wasn't the only gray-haired guy there, and that made me feel comfortable. So there you have it. That's pretty much my career in a nutshell. The thing I'd love to say is that the tandems have saved the sport. We've given carnival rides out to spectators that are going on, you know, they want to have, it's an event now, you know, you get your groomsmen together for a bachelor party and you go, let's all do a tandem. It's on everybody's bucket list. It's a great thrill, but what I love is we're giving back to the sport now. The old timers now are going to these events. We're donating money to get the museum built. It's very, very important that we replenish the older skydivers. We're lasting longer, but we're not going to last forever. And it's very important that we get younger people involved, or even middle-aged guys involved. You know, one of the guys on the world team that I jumped with didn't start till he was in his 50s. And he's one of the best skydivers in the country. So all of this stuff really matters now, and it's very, very important that, you know, that this sport grows. It's got to stay stable. It's got to grow. People have to know that the equipment is safe. It's much safer now. It's not like surfing, you know. The people, you know, surfers are casual people. You know, anybody can buy a surfboard, go to the beach, and, you know, surf a 3-foot wave. It's not, you know, riding giants is not the big thing there. There's lots of risk things you can do in life. Skydiving is controlled risk. The people that do it are just the most wonderful people. There's not a person that sits in this chair that probably isn't gonna say, this is my second family. These are people that, you know, we trust our lives to each other in free fall. And we know that that instant that we hang in the door and let go, that I call it that instant between heaven and earth. It's just, you know, it's unmatchable by anything I've ever done. That's all I have to really say.